Crash by Get Dunked On, little known artist. This fic does contain tags for depression and smoking, as well as the ship Soriel. If you are uncomfortable with any of those, you are advised to turn away now. Thank you and enjoy the fic.
There's nothing like a nice, quiet day to yourself. A day when you don't have to get out of bed or for anything or for any reason. When you're all by yourself. Really something, isn't it? Nothing like reminiscing about memories, or rather ruminating about your crappy past.
Sans was mumbling to himself, sitting on the roof in front of the skylight, feet dangling off the edge. He took another drag of the cigarette he'd been keeping away from his brother's line of sight.
Among other pointless crap, like looking in the mirror and wishing your reflection weren't there.
He flicked the ashes off, not bothering to watch where they fell. Even if the cherry came off, what's the worst that could happen? It slowly smolders, and the house catches on fire hours later, and he dies in his sleep inside. Papyrus wouldn't have a room anymore, but he's sure Undine or Tori would put him up. That is quite a poor habit you have. A soft voice came from behind him. His eye sockets went wide, and he twisted his head and shoulders around to meet the eyes of his unexpected visitor.
"Oh crap, Tori, I'm sorry,"
he said, startled, biting down on the cancer stick before ripping it out of his mouth.
"I know you really hate, I swear I don't smoke normally."
She shook her head. She was just a head and shoulders above the hatch opening. She looked at Sans and gave him somewhat of a glare, her mom glare. "No, Sans," she returned. "I'm talking about the things you are saying. You have a bad habit of talking negatively about yourself, talking in a circle of bad thoughts." She lifted her arms and hefted herself up to the roof. Sans scooted all of 3 inches to let her sit beside him, as he suspected she would do.
"Oh good, then you don't mind me imitating a chimney."
The skeleton's tone was unnecessarily dry and blunt, humorless despite the obvious joke. He imagined that Toriel was giving him the same disapproving look that she gave to anyone who did anything remotely unhealthy. She was such a mom, even to her adult friends. "No, I mind that as well," she said, suddenly snatching the cigarette from his teeth and grinding it into the roof towel beside her. Sans let out a breath, but said nothing. "Sans, are you all right?" she asked. Sans gave a shrug, and in that monotone voice he uses when he's not particularly feeling anything, he replied,
"Yeah, sure, why not?"
Toriel sighed, and it was followed by a sigh of Sans' own.
"I'm not sure much of anything nowadays."
There was a pause, followed by a slight raise of one bone brow, as he turned his head to look at Toriel questioningly.
"So,"
he started,
"how exactly did you get into my house?"
"Oh, I came to return some DVDs I borrowed for Frisk. Papyrus gave me a spare key in case you were working when I came by." She settled further into the space between the skeleton, adjusting the hem of her skirt to cover her knees.
"Yeah."
"Sans," she asked, "do you want to talk about what might be bothering you?" Sans scoffed. He didn't know what to say. That he didn't know what was wrong, just that something was more wrong than usual. There always seemed to be something at the back of his skull just weighing him down. He never really understood what it was supposed to be, or how to deal with it, but it was just constantly there. Right now, though, he knew it definitely was worse than what he was used to every day. But he'd been worse off in the past, and he wasn't in so deep that it was any real concern to him right now. It was more of a condition of being him than a problem. "Is it because Papyrus went back to school the other day?"
"Yeah, I suppose maybe that's something to do with it. I don't know, Tori, I just kinda want to be... Hell, I don't even want to be left alone."
"If part of it is because you are lonely because Papyrus has left, then I would say no. Being alone is not good for you right now. So if you don't mind, shall I keep you company?" They sat in silence for a few minutes, Sans staring at nothing, Toriel twirling her thumbs and searching for something of interest to look at. Sans' head lolled to the side as wisps of thoughts rolled in no coherent manner until one finally caught.
It's not as bad as last time.
Toriel turned her head back to look at his small form. What isn't?
This crash. At least I'm vertical this time. Work was closed because of the snow, and so it's just been me and my thoughts for, 2 days. I haven't eaten, but at least I got out of bed to smoke. That's something.
He was leaning over further now, and he just went with the pole and settled down onto his side. If he rolled off from this side, it probably wouldn't kill him. It would definitely hurt like a... Yes, that is something good. He felt a warm paw come to rest against his back, trying to coax him back up, not firmly enough to actually do anything without input from Sans' non-existent willpower. Sans, haven't you eaten today? He couldn't see her face, but he could envision the worried expression on it. Lips tight, brows pulled together, eyes widened. Toriel's face was so expressive. Did Papyrus forget to leave you spaghetti in the fridge?
No, he left some spaghetti, but I'd have to reheat it, and well, this is the first time I've been out of bed today.
I see. Soriel nodded. It took 5 months of solid friendship on the surface for Sans to let her in on how bad things were for him. How bad he really felt. It wasn't often he showed that part to anyone. He was usually the funny guy, cracked jokes, and made it his point to annoy everyone with practical jokes. And most of the time, that was how he really was. He did love playing practical jokes, and he did love making stupid puns. But then there were days when he wasn't okay. Toriel had found out through Papyrus that sometimes he went straight home from work without eating or leaving his room for any other reason. And when he did, he had dark creases under his eye sockets. But Papyrus didn't understand, not really. He assumed Sans taking his sweet time just napping, not closing himself out from the world, not even getting enough sleep to support himself. Toriel knew what was happening. She went through something like that for years after children had. Sans, have you been keeping your appointments?
Yeah.
He sighed.
I get why I gotta go, but my therapist really...
Toriel started to rub along his back through his thick coat. It felt nice.
The only good thing that comes out of it is that I'm admitting I'm depressed and,
With some effort, he shoved himself back upright. Toriel's other hand pressed briefly to his chest so he wouldn't fall, while her left remained on his back.
She's making me do this find your happy place thing with these little hand buzzards. It's ridiculous.
Why is it ridiculous?
'Cause I ain't got a happy place. The underground was too small for that sort of thing. Every place I could have had a good memory, there's also a bad memory. Because everything was too small, too crowded. I probably walked over the path that led through Waterfall, Hotland, and the capital a couple 100 times. And there was no safe, happy place where I just like to be.
Did you tell her that?
No, I made something up. I know it doesn't have to be a real place, but I ain't never been the creative type, so...
You have no place which brings you happiness. Your house back in Snowdon?
Especially not there.
It had been the home he shared with his little brother for years, but it had also been dreams and glimpses of memories, showing itself as his self-made prison, wallowing in grief for who knows how long, and through who knows how many resets before the kid had finally figured out how to navigate through the underground without need for love or an excessive HP. Was that even real? It felt real, but it didn't at the same time. Then let us make new memories, Toriel suggested.
What?
Toriel took a deep breath. She smiled and stroked him down the back once more. Well, if you have no good memories of your life underground, then let us make new memories of the surface. Happy memories. This world is far wider than even I can grasp. There are so many new places, new experiences. Surely we can find something that makes you happy. A place you can call a comfort.
Tori?
We could take a trip. The next weekend, Papyrus comes to stay. Alphys and Undine seem to enjoy the beach, and neither you or I have ever been to the beach. It sounds lovely from their description, so I say it's a good place to start.
It's November,
he said, wringing a small chuckle out of his chest. Well, I'm certain we can figure out something. We can go anywhere you would like, or perhaps we can make a wonderful happy night in front of the fire, drinking hot cocoa. We can watch a cheerful movie or two. I might disagree with some of the anime that Frisk so enjoys, but I'm sure we can find a happy, delightful movie for something like this. Frisk has an interest in pillow forts. I wonder if you would like to participate in something like that.
Toriel stopped then, seeing that her friend might have been starting to get overwhelmed by the list of activities.
Sans said after a beat.
I don't think it would hurt to try a trip or a night in.
Would you like that?
Maybe?
He honestly wasn't sure, but Toriel really cared about him, and sometimes she got carried away. But that's one of the things he liked about her. He really did like her, and she did want to help, even if he wasn't in the mood for it right now. Truthfully, he wasn't in any sort of mood right now. It was a lack of mood, but he supposed it had lightened some.
Yeah, let's do that.
I'm glad. She rubbed his skull, watching him lean into her touch. He might have been in the midst of a crash, but his body definitely enjoyed the affection. The temperature of his skull was startling once she noticed it through her fur. I know a skeleton's perception of cold is not keen, but it is a bit chilly. Would you like to come in with me?
Yeah, okay.
Toriel stood and lifted Sans to stand as well. She was down through the skylight first, and when Sans peered down, he wasn't surprised she only needed one of his step stools to reach it. How had she known he was up here? He didn't really care as he started to climb down, but then two great paws wrapped around his ribs and carefully lifted him down. He was pressed against Toriel for a moment as she held him in her left arm to shut and lock the hatch using her other. True, the cold didn't bother skeletons, but the warmth of having another being's body was still pleasant. He didn't need to hold on with as securely as she held him, but he still gripped the fabric of her dress and instinctively curled against her in the moment before she set him on his feet. Would you eat if I cooked for you? She asked.
Oh, you ain't gotta do that. I wouldn't want to eat in front of you without...
I'm a bit peckish myself, so may I make something for both of us? She offered. Sans' eyes drifted for a second, as if considering the option.
If you're feeling pecked, then I'm in the mood for that chicken in the freezer.
Toriel smelled that, nodding. She took Sans' hand and led him to the kitchen. Her hand was warm and strong, dwarfing his in its grasp. It felt good. It made him feel safe and protected. He gave it a little squeeze as they entered the kitchen. He was still experiencing a crash, but he might slowly be coming out of it now.